You're listening to the 40 Thrive Podcast, the show created for women 40 and beyond, ready to shake things up. And now, your host, Jackie McDougall.
Welcome back to another episode of 40 Thrive. I'm thrilled that you're here. Just a quick reminder, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe, favorite, follow button. That will make sure that you are alerted each time a new episode is published without having to ever look for 40 Thrive again. So hit that button now before we get started. All right, today's episode is a little bit different. It actually was a Facebook Live I did in the 40 Thrive free and private community. It was a really interesting, powerful conversation. We busted a lot of myths here. So before I tell you exactly what we're going to talk about today, I just want you to come in with an open mind. Now, cannabis is something that we grew up, many of us, as like, oh my gosh, it's the gateway drug. It's awful. It's terrible for you. Like anyone who did it was like Cheech and Chong, burnout under the bleachers in school. And, things have certainly changed in the cannabis industry, in what we know about cannabis, and all the incredible benefits that we can get from cannabis. But this is the key: without getting high. Now, if you're someone who likes edibles or vapes or smokes pot, like, great, you do you. But I think a lot of people who are going to listen to this are more like I am, where a little over a year ago, I think it was, I did an episode about cannabis. I learned so much. I came into it with absolutely no knowledge at all. And I learned a lot. And over the last year, I have looked into it and I have used cannabis in a variety of ways to combat some menopause symptoms or help with sleep, anxiety, things like that. And so it's a whole new world that's very different from when we were younger, and many of us avoided pot smoking for a variety of reasons. So I just want you to come into this episode with an open mind, because I think you'll be as fascinated as I am. And even our guests who co-own a cannabis company together were not pot smokers. It wasn't part of their lives. So just to hear their story is so fascinating, to go from friends with kids who went to preschool together, grew up together, became empty nesters, and then they started looking into cannabis as like an adventure. And they found out that it was so much more than what we could have imagined. Today's guests are Carrie Mapes and Patty Pappas. They're the founders of Hello Again, which is a cannabis suppository that will help you feel better, so much better, without getting high. When Carrie and Patty went to the dispensary on a whim after they became empty nesters, they quickly realized that cannabis was uniquely suited to address many of the challenges they experienced during menopause. Patty and Carrie searched for a single product geared to address these challenges, but there was nothing. So they used their problem-solving instincts, which led them to take matters into their own hands by building their own product from the ground up. Cannabis, vaginal, suppository. That may seem like crazy talk, but for Carrie and Patty, these same words represent the future of women's wellness. And even if you're not interested in hearing a conversation about cannabis, how cool is it that two women, stay-at-home moms, raising their kids, get back into not only the workforce, but start their own company doing something that really is revolutionary. It's a really, really cool story. So without further ado, let's just get into my conversation with Carrie Mapes and Patty Pappas. Carrie and Patty, welcome to 40 Thrive.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
I'm so excited. So you both have known each other for 20 years. I just picture you both in the carpool lane, like smoking a joint or something, but that's not how it happened, right?
Not at all. Actually, neither of us had a real relationship with cannabis before we started down this journey of Hello Again. Yeah.
At all?
Not really. I mean, it was illegal, but maybe back in the high school days, I tried it. I'll speak for myself. And it was a different experience back then. It wasn't great. And then when our youngest went off to college, we were empty nesters and we thought it would be fun to just go check out a dispensary. And that's how the whole thing started, because we realized there were a lot of things that cannabis could do for women like us.
I really did not smoke pot in high school. I was scared.
really. I grew up during the war on drugs and it didn't appeal to me. There's one person out there, Sabrina, I know you and I tried one night, but it didn't really take. I couldn't really get the hang of the smoking. And I never really had a relationship with it at all. And in fact, when Patty suggested we go to the dispensary, I was like, okay, really? Okay, I'll go. And, we went at 9 a.m, I think, not when the doors open, like we're programmed to. Of course, we got to get there. We got to get there when the doors open. But with our purse over our arm. It worked to our advantage because we had the whole place to ourselves. Yeah. Nobody else was there. And we had the luxury of having all the staff to ourselves and asking all the questions that you would want to ask. And it really lit our fire that day. Honestly, that day really, what does this do? Oh, that's for anxiety. What does this do? Well, that can help with sleep. This can help with focus. That can help with pain. I mean, we really just drew a direct line between what cannabis could do and what we were feeling as women in menopause, or what we knew that our friends were feeling as women in menopause. And that was just kind of the beginning of an idea that we sussed out and asked questions and Googled things and met people. And, we just kept putting one foot in front of the other until the case for doing what we did became so strong. There was nothing that we wanted in that dispensary, even though we wanted all the effects of the THC. Mm-hmm. There wasn't anything there that really wouldn't get us high, or we could depend upon a predictable experience, or even was packaged for us. It was, back a little bit back in the days of black glossy packaging and gold and green. And I couldn't really find anything outside of beautiful Kikoko tea, which was what I bought that day, that I even wanted to buy, let alone use. And then we just kept going. And the reckoning came when we invested in a suppository filling machine.
I mean, and that's a huge leap. So I just want to, for anybody in a state where cannabis is legal, first of all, I've been to dispensaries. I am the same as you. I think I maybe smoked pot like a handful of times in my life until it was legal. And I went to a dispensary with my husband, and it was an education in, the plant. And I did an episode actually over a year ago where I knew absolutely nothing, and I learned a lot. So I will actually link to that episode. But because I learned so much and the power of this plant, and so many people are out there using CBD and they think, oh, CBD is amazing. And yeah, sure. But CBD with THC is more powerful. Like, this is stuff I learned, right? You both and I have had this conversation. And so I've tried edibles for sleep. Great. I'm not really a vape, a smoker. And so it's really opened up my eyes. And so when I first met you both, the idea that you could help with a lot of these symptoms, the mood, the hot flashes, the sleep, all of that stuff, because this is the key part, like without the high. I know for me, I couldn't take a hit of a joint and then go and drive my kids. I mean, first of all, that's illegal, but I couldn't cook a dinner. I'm not that person. There are a lot of people who can function, but I will say your product. And I have tested specifically when I'm feeling like frustrated, when I'm feeling anxiety, depressed, not clinical, just everyday stuff. And I go and I pop in a suppository and I take a couple minutes to myself and let it do its job. Wow. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that makes us so happy. That's how we use our product as well. And, that especially we have 2 SKUs. We have the daytime and the nighttime. Mm-hmm. The daytime, especially during COVID, we, a lot of women who may not have come to our product because they couldn't get over the word menopause, eventually came to our product because of 2 things, anxiety and sleep. Yes. I love when you said you took a couple minutes to yourself, because we've been getting some comments back from women that has nothing to do with our product, but it's like, what are you going to do in those few minutes while you're letting the suppository sort of take hold or get to work? And it could be like just that moment in the day that you get to yourself, that you can sit down, you can meditate a little bit, you can look out the window, you can do whatever you need to do. And so the combination of the 2, I think, is really nice.
Yeah. And I asked you both that, like, am I supposed to hang out? Am I supposed to lie down? It reminded me of like trying to get pregnant years ago. And like, should I put my legs up behind my ears? And you're both like, no, just chill out for a minute. And it was like giving me permission to actually take that 5-10 minutes. Like, I like that. And I don't mean to be outing you here, but like, one of you said like, oh, I drink my coffee. Like I put it in the morning and I drink my coffee. Like it's a reminder. And speaking of coffee, so if I'm feeling like the day's getting away from me, or I'm just not feeling connected, right? And I always want to go for like, I just want to take a minute and have another cup of coffee.
Right.
But I'll tell you right now, that's only going to exacerbate the problem. I cannot have coffee after like 11 a.m. or I'm going to have anxiety. Yeah. This has been great. I can, if it's 3:00 in the afternoon and I'm feeling sluggish, I can do a daytime one and not like at first I was like, I don't know, is it going to make me feel like keep me up at night? Or it's not, it's just, I just feel chill. And so it lasts what, 6 hours, you said?
About 6 hours. And I'm so happy it has that effect for you. It does for me too. And if I take it even a little later in the morning, I kind of just blow through 3:00 without the usual, what time is it? Oh, it's always 3:00.
It really is always 3:00.
Yeah. And all of a sudden I look up and it's 5 and I'm doing something unusual for the afternoon, like cleaning out a drawer or a closet or, starting something that usually isn't the kind of thing that I would tackle that time of day. So I'm really happy that it works for you that way too.
But along with coffee, there's so many things that we do that aren't good for us that we reach for in the minute to make us feel better that actually long-term have even a worse effect. And I think that all got worse during COVID. The extra drinking, the extra, the anxiety, the coffee, the extra everything. So cannabis is such a great alternative to all of that.
It really is. And when you talk about drinking, there was a time where I thought, well, if I have a couple of drinks, I'll be able to sleep. Now, if I have a couple of drinks, I'm guaranteed to not sleep.
Exactly. It's the worst.
Below 2 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. That's the name of the wine.
That's the name of the wine, till low 2 a.m.
Oh my gosh. Seriously. But if you do this, like I remember the first time I tried, nothing's the same as the first time. So when I tried the sleep one for the first time, I turned to my husband and I said, I feel like this stuff's giving me a warm hug. Yeah. That's what I felt. Yeah. There was no high. I could completely function. How does that work?
The magic. Yeah. So we have cannabinoid receptors in our bodies. They're all over our bodies. They're centralized in certain places. The brain is the most dense place for them, but the female reproductive tract is the second most dense place. But they're in our skin. They're all over our bodies. And they exist there because our body makes cannabinoids. Well, they're called endocannabinoids because our body makes them. And when our systems go out of balance, we produce these cannabinoids, these endocannabinoids. And when they meet with the receptors that we have, the biological purpose of that whole system is to bring systems in balance. So it might be your sleep system. It might be your emotions. It could be your libido. It could be your temperature regulation. Mm-hmm. All of your systems in your body kind of depend on this lock and key connection between endocannabinoids and the receptors. The cannabinoids that are in cannabis are so close to it structurally to what we produce ourselves that we can benefit from that as well. The systems are out of balance in the case of hello again. Let's just say the systems are out of balance because of the hormone fluctuation that comes with menopause. Maybe you're not making enough endocannabinoids yourself to bring it back in balance and you just need that little extra bit. Maybe they're so out of balance that what normally you would produce just isn't quite enough. And the external source of cannabinoids that's in the cannabis plant comes into play there too. So we have a ton of receptors in our female reproductive tract. So that's one of the reasons we started looking into a suppository as a delivery method. But the more we got into that, the more we realized as well that if the cannabis enters the body through the vagina, it's bypassing, let's say, your digestive system, if it's an edible, or going through the liver. And it's when things are metabolized by the liver, THC is metabolized by the liver, it becomes even more psychoactive. So there's a little bit of a 1-2 punch where we're really capitalizing on the local cannabinoid receptors, and we're also bypassing the metabolism in the liver.
That's so interesting. I feel like you probably didn't know that just a few years ago.
No. Not at all. And then the other component to this is that we've added these other botanicals that have terpenes, and terpenes are what the terpenes that are in chamomile and lavender are the things that make those botanicals calming. And the terpenes that are in hops and schisandra help with focus. So we've added botanicals that women have been using for years to deal with these kinds of symptoms and taking advantage of the terpenes that they're providing. And then, of course, cannabis is just one plant in this. We have a lot of botanicals, but it's certainly the lead vocalist in the band.
Right. And it smells so good. It's like just the smell alone is like very relaxing. You know,
I'm so happy you said that. That was a trick in formulation to
smell, color,
melt rate,
melt rate, look right.
Yeah, because we're very picky at this age. We want what we want. You know,
when you're going to put it inside your body for sure.
Well, and you don't want to smell. I mean, no one wants to smell like pot.
Yeah, right.
Number one.
So, yeah, for sure. And one of the things I really appreciate and respect on your website. So this is to combat symptoms that most of us get.
Yeah.
But some of us have like more clinical, more medical needs. And so one of you actually takes hormone replacement therapy, right?
Yeah.
You do. Okay. So I do as well. I almost said puberty, Freudian slip there, but like I went into menopause at 35. Yes, exactly. Surgical menopause at 35. And so, it's been 15 years. And so I am on hormone replacement therapy, but that doesn't cover everything. That's not like so I do need that and I can do this. And so many people will just need to do this and not have to worry about HRT.
Yeah. So that's my story. I stopped taking hormones when we had this product in the bag and we were done with our formulation. I thought, okay, I'm just doing this. And I haven't had any symptoms. I've been able to control it with this. But what I love about this product too is that I believe that you're able to maybe stay on a lower dose of hormones. So if there are overflow symptoms that your present dose isn't handling, then our product can be an option to take care of that versus upping the dosage.
Yeah, it definitely fills in the gaps for the symptoms for sure.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
There are a ton of women who can't take hormones for a lot of different reasons, including, blood clots and cancers and all kinds of stuff.
Right. What would you say to that woman who's like, there's absolutely no way I'm going to, like, we have been programmed in our heads, right? Like cannabis is the devil. It's like the gateway drug. And even myself, I hear myself talking about it openly. Like I would have never admitted to trying edibles or anything like that before. But I feel like I admit to drinking a glass of wine.
Yeah, isn't it interesting? It is really interesting.
Right?
I think I still have friends who are afraid to try any sort of cannabis, but there's so many beautiful products out there that are so thoughtfully made that I think that you can educate yourself a little bit to see what you need, what you're looking for. And it's out there. You just have to go into a reputable dispensary and spend a little time like we did and educate yourself a little bit and you'll feel more comfortable. I mean, there is no downside. Nobody ever overdosed on cannabis. You can't. No, you wake up the next day feeling better. We do all these things that are so destructive and make us feel worse in the long run. And cannabis is really so beneficial and your body in a way can use it properly and make you feel better. And so I think I think people, the veil will be lifted off soon and it'll stop being such a negative idea of wellness. And
it's not the same cannabis. It's not the same cannabis that you had in high school. You smoked in high school or you smelled in high school or whatever. This isn't
what Cheech and Chong are doing here.
No. It's a really sophisticated industry. And we're in the state of California. The testing that cannabis products have to pass an organic apple wouldn't pass it. It's tested so thoroughly and so rigorously, not only for potency, but really more extensively for purity. It's a long list of contaminants and soils, pesticides, minerals, and all pesticides, everything. And really the Lipton, any tea bag, the generic tea bag that you might find in the grocery store probably has more pollutants in it than what you could find at a reputable licensed cannabis.
And we don't think twice about what we buy at the grocery store and put in our bodies ever. But
well, and I would also say just think about the alternatives for you. I mean, the alternative is doing nothing, which I really believe is kind of our resting point as women, but also isn't fair and isn't right and is a waste of what can be a really dynamic time of life. If maybe your child rearing responsibilities are coming to a close or have finished, if you're in good health and, you might have more ways that you can now spend your time. You're a more fully developed person. Your talents are more honed. Your confidence is a lot higher. I know mine is, and you now have maybe a little bit more time. It can really be a terrific time. But if you're just choosing to, there's no benefit to being a martyr. You're not helping anybody by being a martyr and suffering in silence or just suffering and complaining about it.
Yeah.
And then when you think about what you are reaching for, we talked about it with wine and we talked about it with food and we talked about it with other things, but also, Ambien or sleeping pills and, other pharmaceuticals. We have no idea what those things are on the back of the bottle, but we don't think twice about trying those. So this to me is just, cannabis has been around for thousands of years and has been used for wellness for thousands of years. And unfortunately, we had this little glitch in our history of the last, 30, 40 years, whatever. Yeah. But it's coming back. And I would recommend people go in and I have a friend and I've given her a bath bomb and I said, just try the bath bomb. Just start with the bath bomb and then we'll work our way up from there. We'll try a tea next. And then, you just bring them along slowly. So it's not so scary. I mean, everybody could use a bath bomb. So
absolutely. Yeah. I want a bath bomb.
Oh yeah. That's amazing.
You brought something up that I really want to address, and that is this whole suffering as a badge of honor. That we're going through this time in our lives. You're absolutely right in that we've never been more capable. We've never been more experienced. We've never been more badass, but yet we're allowing the changes that are happening in our lives and our bodies, they lead to suffering, or they can lead to suffering. And then when we're suffering, we're rubbing elbows with our friends oh, but I went through this. I've been up 4 nights in a row with hot flashes. How is that something you want to brag about?
Yeah.
Getting the best sleep of your life or being able to deal I personally don't know a time where I've been more stressed, just with everybody, whether you're a first responder or you're, as an essential worker, you're at home with 3 teenagers and a husband in the same office. I don't know, someone might be doing that. It's very, very stressful. Yeah. And so imagine just having something to help you out a little bit. You're right. How many of us are going to a doctor asking for Ativan or mood altering medications? Maybe, again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing anything or telling you not to do that. But I think we jump into medication. We jump into alcohol. Me personally, I started researching the wines I'm drinking. I had no idea. I'm just thinking Lucy and Ethel were squash and grapes. And next thing you know, here's my wine. Yeah. But there's so many chemicals. There's so many additives in it that the industry it doesn't seem like the wine industry is nearly as structured or restrictive as the cannabis industry. Would you agree with that?
Not knowing as much about the wine industry as I do about the cannabis industry, I would say that's probably true.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a reason. I know for me, I love a glass of wine and I love a martini. I think you and I shared a few martinis when we early in our friendship. But I can't, and then we still do, but I can't handle it like I used to. I just can't. And there are really good reasons for that. As you age, your body, first of all, your circulation goes down, it slows. So the amount of time that it takes for the alcohol to be, to go through your liver and for your body to process it is elongated. You really kind of feel that. Your body, the volume of water in your body is lower than when you're younger. So the alcohol is less diluted in your system.
Interesting.
And then kind of the worst one, I think, is as you age, your eyesight is worse, your balance is worse, your word recall is worse, and those things are all amplified by alcohol. So, the effect is that you just feel like you're getting affected by it with less alcohol, which is true. You are.
Right.
So, and then, I just don't feel as good And if I have a little like there's some really beautiful. Wonder has a really beautiful cannabis drink. It's very low dose. The flavors are delicious, and you kind of have that social minute. I really love this socializing of, the pretty barware and sitting down, and it's like punctuation at the end of the day, and it marks the beginning of, the end of the work day. I love all that, but I also love a good night's sleep.
Yeah. Right. And feeling good the next day.
Yeah.
And not wanting a burger for breakfast.
There is that, to soak up the alcohol. I have tried the hello again after having a glass of wine. So if I have a glass of wine, I know that I'm going to be sweating or up at 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning. Yeah. But actually, when I had the suppository after I had that glass of wine later, it was a couple of hours later, I didn't wake up with the sweat.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
I mean, I'm not recommending like, hey, make sure you like take your alcohol and mix your cannabis. Like we're going off the rails, but it's a pretty great, thing if you're going out and you're going to have dinner and you want to have that glass of wine or you want to have that cocktail, that is there for you later on in the night.
It really does help.
That was definitely a happy discovery that we made.
It really does help with that.
Which actually I think our 22-year-old kids found out for us. They might have the 50 boys secret. Yeah, exactly.
I think that, yes, I know it does help. Now, please, you can't have 4 martinis and expect to feel perfect in the morning, but you're right. It really does help kind of round out the edges a little bit if you do have a glass of wine too many, or in my case, a glass of wine.
Yeah, that's what I mean, like a glass of wine with dinner or something, and then later on having that, because I get inflammation, I feel sweaty, I feel dehydrated, all of those things. So it sort of balances it out, which is very nice, because I do like the ritual, I do like the socialization that, like you perfectly said, the punctuation at the end of the day. And so that was really nice. So I have some questions, but also because we are so programmed and because we are so new to this, some people sent me questions privately. And so I want to make sure that we dive into those. So one of the first questions I got was, can I drive on Hello Again?
Yes. Well, okay, stop. Our product will not give you the typical psychoactive high, and we use them all day and all night, and we live in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have to drive.
Yeah, but I'm sure I'm sure we can't say anything more than that. But
there's no, you feel like yourself. That was the whole idea of the formulation, and feeling like yourself doesn't mean, a little wonky or high at all. So that was a very clear objective of ours.
Even the nighttime, which has more THC in it, it was important to me that if you wake up at night for some reason, your bladder, your dog, your phone, an emergency, you wake up at night when you need to, and you can, leave the house if you need to.
And that is the biggest difference, especially, at night. There are plenty of women in this group who like to have an edible. And I've had my share, but I do like this because if like the kids do wake up or something happens, I'm just able to deal with it. Not that you can't with an edible, but I'm certainly not going to jump in the car and drive someone to the ER or something, it gets a little tricky. So I think that's great. And just for our protection, like nobody is suggesting you go and, have us use the suppository and go and drive, but it is digested by the body very differently. And so you don't feel that high. So whatever you do, you're a grown ass woman, don't do whatever. We did not suggest anything.
Be smart with anything. If you want to try it for the first time on a day where you're home, there are plenty of those these days, then that's probably a good way to go.
Exactly. Perfect. Okay. The big question, where can people get it?
Well, they can go to our website, helloagainproducts.com. And if you put in your zip code, they'll find the closest dispensary or delivery service. But we can only sell in licensed dispensaries and through licensed delivery services in California.
State of California.
Yeah. But please go to our website and sign up for our newsletter, because we announce where we're available every new dispensary. We're growing really fast. We've gone from 2 to about 25 dispensaries since we launched during COVID. And we can see a lot of growth on the horizon. So please just sign up for the newsletter and then you'll know.
Awesome. And I will link to that in the comments here as well. And then another question, what kind of response have you gotten from women who don't typically use cannabis?
Well, I think one, they're surprised that they didn't get high.
Yeah.
I mean, so that was a nice surprise. And then I think the biggest surprise for me was younger women and older women that you would consider out of menopause, or younger women that you think aren't in menopause yet, have also had such beneficial results. Because if you think about it, inflammation, anxiety, sleeplessness, we had one woman who said her bursitis in her hip was good so she could roll over while she was sleeping, or younger women with period cramps. So I think that for me was the biggest surprise that we had, really, we didn't know it was coming, but came pretty quickly. The responses.
I think too, the most fun thing, the most common thing is, oh my God, I slept like I was 16 years old. Right. I have not slept more than, 4 hours in a row in 10 years.
Yeah.
And I just had my first good night's sleep.
Right. And you bring up a good point, because not everybody in this group is in perimenopause or menopause or feeling any of the symptoms. And so it's important to understand that even just mood or sleep or
inflammation, pain.
Yeah. I will say, I found out today. So I thought I pulled a muscle in my back about 3 to 4 weeks ago, but come to find out, I found out today, I actually popped out a rib. And so, yeah. And I will say that my hello again at night kind of softened. It felt like it softened the muscles around that rib that I could roll over, because it was so painful that it was really hard to even roll over. I'm not saying it was like, oh, I was pain free, but it was certainly allowed me to sleep. I was sleeping off and on, like every 30 minutes I would get up. And then I'm like, why am I not using that? And then I'd be able to at least get a couple hours at a time, which was nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
Jackie, try a topical with it. Get a good topical. I like the Mary's medicinal muscle, the freeze muscle. It's a roll on. And it really is kind of, it seems crazy that a topical would help with that, but there's a kind of a chain reaction that happens of calm. Like think of it as that. So, in your skin, and then it kind of, and slowly but surely, it really does kind of penetrate down into, and I would think that would help. It's worth
coming at it from sort of inside and outside.
Yeah, I love that. And of course, I mean, it makes sense why it would help. Our skin is so much more receptive than we think, than we realize. I mean, that's how many of us take hormones, right? Through the skin. And so that makes sense, just to really soften things up, so I don't have to I feel like I'm clenched, with the rib, but anyway, thank you for that. Anything else that you feel like, oh, wait, I had a question. What did your family, like your kids specifically, were they like, what the hell are you doing?
So we met because our oldest were in preschool together. They're now 23. Patty has another child in between, and then we have our youngest are 21. So we had this whole group of 20-year-olds at the time.
Yeah, so we first started coming home from all these dispensaries, they were so excited. They were super into it. They're like, oh my God, our moms are looking in the cannabis space. What's happening? This is so great. And then as we did our research and we talked to our formulator, we came home and we said, it's going to be a vaginal suppository. It was like, could you make the least coolest product ever? But
only you could jack up cannabis, Mom.
Exactly, 100%. But they've been fantastic. They're our biggest fans. They're so much fun. They help us with everything and explain all the different, social media stuff to us and stuff. But they've been great. They're super, super great.
They've been really great, and their friends have been really great.
It's been fun.
It's really been nice. I've had referrals from, for connections through them and their friends.
And the dialogue at home, I mean, the word vagina probably never came out, once a year. And now it's like, vagina all the time, all day long. No problem. Our husbands are like the vagina. I mean, it's just, it's a lot.
It's now, the more you say it, the more chill it is. Like, I remember when my kids were little and I said that word, and my son, I think he wanted to die under the table. And I just stopped and I said, did that bother you? And he's like, yes. And I said, vagina. It's like, still bother you? And then finally he was like, all right, fine. I got it.
We're done.
We have to talk about real body parts here.
Yeah. I love too that I think we each stayed home with our kids. And I love that we're each now able to model something different too. I mean, it was the right choice for each of us to do that. But I think we always kind of wondered, what kind of role model were we being? Were we not giving them a different kind of role model? And now all of a sudden this is happening and we're doing this. And I really love my daughter seeing that.
Yeah, for sure. And I see women who worked the 9 to 5 or the 10, whatever it was, while their kids were growing up, and now they own their own businesses or they're writing a book, so this is such a perfect time to really figure out what you want to do, who you want to be when you grow up, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so how has entrepreneurship been for you?
Well, first of all, I'm so happy we have each other because it makes it a lot more fun. And I think we complement each other well, if I like to say so. But it's been a ball. I mean, I think being in the cannabis space adds an extra sort of, it had definitely added an extra learning curve. But it also, nobody that we knew in our lives before know anything about the cannabis space. So now all of a sudden, we're in this whole world that was so foreign to us and foreign to most of the people that we know. I think it makes it even more fun and exciting.
Well, and the cannabis space is, certainly it's new now. It was really new when we first started doing this. So even people in the space didn't really know the space that well. So I think that took a little bit of pressure.
They didn't know our space. They didn't know the menopause and customer for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it made it okay for us to be learning as we went because everybody in the space is learning as they go because it's an ever-changing, terrain underneath our feet, really. And so that took a lot of pressure off. I'm just so grateful to the product to feel good, number one, and then so grateful to the product to have this second chapter, especially during COVID. It was amazing to have growth during COVID. And we really had to grow a lot during COVID. We climbed up the learning curve every day. We had full lists of things to do. And I was tired at the end of the days, most days. I still am, but so we're still working hard. But it was really a privilege to be busy and engaged, especially during this last year and a half.
Yeah. And creating something that's making a difference.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, I can only imagine how much work you are both doing, but you're creating something, the first time we talked, I was like, I can't talk about this unless I try it. Like, that's how I am with everything that comes in front of this 40 Thrive audience. It's really important to me that they trust me, that they don't think I'm just going to throw anything at them. And so, I want my opinion to be respected, obviously, but I was so happy. Because I was waiting. Before COVID, I didn't really do edibles or anything like that. And so it was perfect timing because I was able to dabble in other methods of cannabis before trying this. So I didn't, I could compare. Right. And the fact is that I don't feel high during the day. I'm actually much more productive when I do the suppository, some of the self-doubt, I don't know, does this happen to you? Like some of the stories I tell myself, like, you can't do that. Nobody will listen. Like, who do you think you are? They actually kind of dissipate a little bit when I'm feeling better.
Why do we do that? That usually hits me at 2 a.m. That's why I cannot sleep without hello again. Because then I wake up at 2 a.m. and that dialogue starts in my head. So I don't know why we do that to each other, but I mean, why we do as women, but I think we do. And anything that can take that off in a healthy way is.
But that's great. Anxiety. I mean, I guess that's anxiety that's focused inward. And, it is biological as much as it is situational. And I'm really glad that you're getting relief from that because it really serves. It'd be interesting to know why that happens. Cause it really, in my opinion, serves no good purpose.
No, and everybody does it. As we talked before, I mean, you do have that glass of wine and you get that 20 minutes where it's quiet, but then you feel worse, and it's a bad cycle. It just puts you down on a bad cycle. So,
And then, you see pictures of me if I have a glass of wine in my hand and like my face is a sweaty mess and there's red blotches and like, and the difference too that I will say with the suppository is that I'll forget that I used it. And I'll be just going about my day. And I'm like, oh, I handled that like a boss. Like, and then I'll remember, oh, that's right. Like, so it's not even like on some days I feel physically better and other days I feel physically better, but I don't notice that I feel better until I realize how I responded to a situation.
Thank you for bringing that up. That's, I think the best way to kind of understand the product is to try it and then forget about it and then look back on your day. For me, I don't take fighting words. Like if I hear fighting words, I don't take the bait. Or when I hear fighting words, I don't take the bait. I don't sweat the small stuff. I don't verbalize every, annoying thing I don't address every annoying thing that happens in the day. And as a result, that's like a snowball rolling downhill too, because as a result, the whole house is more calm. The whole house is more peaceful. Everybody's happier. Our interactions are better. It's lovely. It really is.
Right. I had another question that was texted to me. So this is interesting. So I know you can't deliver outside of California or sell outside of California. If someone in California were to purchase the product, is it legal to ship the product to someone else?
No.
Okay. That's all. We'll leave it at that. Again, you're a grown-ass woman. You make your decisions. You do what you do.
Yeah. I think we did mention our product doesn't smell like cannabis.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, essential oils and I mean, you say botanicals as if there's a bath bomb inside.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I don't think you would even, and I'm talking about that's when I use it. I don't actually smell it when I have the package itself.
Yeah.
Right. Packages do not smell like cannabis. The product doesn't smell like cannabis. You don't smell like cannabis.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Right. So we'll leave it at that. I love you both. You're amazing. Anything else you want my audience to know, this amazing community of women over 40 that we haven't covered?
I would say if you're not feeling good, work on it. But you really, really deserve to feel good, and, experiment and read and try things. And, sometimes the slightest shifts, whether it's in something that you're taking or using or something that you're doing or cutting out things that you should cut out of your life, I would say that just give yourself that gift.
That's such a great point. And, obviously we're talking about your product today. Yeah. Those who are in other states where cannabis is legal, we don't have to talk about it here, but do you have some suggestions that they may want to try of things that might be available in other states, at least until you are?
It's hard to know because you have to create your product in that state with the materials in that state. So we're not as familiar. I don't think, we haven't tried a lot of products in other states because you have to make and sell in the state that you're in. So we don't, I don't know if there's any actual brand names we could recommend, but go to a good place and trust the staff and just start slowly and educate yourself a little bit.
And also, hold on. I think that I know that, there are paths for licensing to other states and a lot of brands are doing that as more and more states become adult use legal. Everyone's kind of paving the way for how their particular brand might become more nationally available. So more is coming your way.
Good.
Sure.
So that's something you're looking into for sure.
We're going to get better.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, I've never been to a dispensary that wasn't helpful.
Right. They want to be very well trained. They're very well educated. I think everybody in the cannabis business I'm not going to say everybody, but for the most part, people are passionate about it because everybody knows what the potential is and they want everybody to understand it. So
it's a hard business.
Yeah.
There are a lot of regulations and there's a lot of taxation and there's a lot of,
restrictions on banking and all that stuff.
Yeah. So, nobody is doing this because it's an easy path. So you're right. They are passionate about the plant. And I would say if you go to a dispensary and it seems like an old store head shop with cardboard boxes and a creepy vibe, go somewhere else because you don't have to go there.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're everywhere. If you're in a state where it's legal, they're everywhere. And that's the thing too, is in these regulations, it means that it's not the same, like you mentioned before, it's not the same cannabis that was available to us in high school or in our 20s.
Cannabis. Who knows what it was, but it was
cannabis in there.
A little, yeah. But now, the way they grow cannabis in California anyway, and it's beautifully done and it's safe at a legal dispensary. You're okay. Go in and try.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. Well, congratulations to both of you. This is an awesome second chapter, I have to say. It's amazing because it's creative. You're both learning so much about business. Take the product, the product aside, you are an example to other women that you can try new things. You can, explore. And it's awesome when you have a bestie right next to you.
That's true. Makes a difference.
We really appreciate
you. This was fun today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. We keep the conversation going in our free and private Facebook group, so make sure you join us over there. Also, if you have any questions, comments, wishes, hopes, dreams of something you'd like to hear on 40 Thrive, send us an email at hello@40thrive.com. Until next time, take care and keep thriving. Spring has sprung, and with the change of seasons, sometimes comes an increase in vitality. If you're feeling in the mood for a little more personal time, may I suggest Coconut? Coconut is all about providing clean and natural ingredients when you're enjoying your most intimate moments, with or without a partner. Naturally safe products developed by people who are obsessed with quality. Get 15% off with promo code GROWNASS at grownasswoman.guide/coconut. That's 15% off with promo code GROWNASS at grownasswoman.guide/coconut.